Masterclass on immersive settings in fiction writing. If you are an aspiring writer or a creative writing student, this one is for you. Today, we will explore how to transform dry exposition into integrated, living storytelling. By the end, you will know how to make your settings breathe, push your characters, and pull your readers deep into the story. Let's begin with the most important distinction of all. There is a difference between factual telling and immersive showing. When an author relies on dry, factual exposition, they are merely telling the reader what exists. This approach creates distance. It presents the world as a static, lifeless backdrop. Immersive showing does something very different. It invites the reader into the space and lets them experience the environment firsthand. This shift is the foundation of reader engagement. It transforms the setting from a mere location into a living, breathing experience. To understand the problem with factual telling, let's look at a concrete example. Consider this typical narrative snippet. The room was cold and dark, and it was winter. On the surface, this accurately conveys information. But notice how it completely fails to engage the reader's senses. It simply delivers a sterile list of facts. There is no texture, no sound, and no human experience anchoring the scene. As a result, the reader stays outside the story. They observe from a distance rather than living in the moment. Now let's look at the alternative. Instead of just listing the dimensions of a room, we filter the environment through the character's physical experience. Consider this revision. He shivered as the frost etched intricate patterns on the glass. Notice the immediate difference in how this feels to read. We don't just know it is winter. We feel the cold, because the character is physically reacting to it. The verb shivered bridges the gap between the character and the setting. The environment also becomes active. The frost isn't just sitting there. It is etching patterns, turning a static backdrop into a dynamic participant in the scene. So here is our first key point. Immersive showing uses character-integrated storytelling. The setting isn't just described. It is actively experienced through the character. That single shift, from dry exposition to integrated experience, is what truly enhances reader engagement. Now let's move to our second key point. How do character-integrated settings build atmosphere? Atmosphere is not just about describing the weather or the architecture. It is born when the physical setting collides with a character's internal state. Think of it as a subjective lens. A bustling marketplace looks completely different to a starving thief searching for an easy mark. It looks completely different again to a wealthy king on a casual stroll. By combining sensory details with emotional resonance, the environment becomes an active participant in your character's journey. To build atmosphere, you must move beyond simply describing what a setting looks like. Atmosphere is the culmination of multiple sensory details, carefully filtered through a character's current mood and physical state. We achieve this by engaging the 5 senses: sight, sound, smell, touch, and taste. Instead of just seeing a dark forest, a frightened character might hear the sharp crack of a branch. They might smell damp decay. They might feel the biting wind. These layered sensory choices transform a static backdrop into a living, breathing experience. Now for our third key concept. Setting is often misunderstood as merely the place where a story happens. But master storytellers use the environment as the foundation of conflict. Setting isn't just a passive backdrop. It can be an active antagonist. When we introduce environmental pressures, the setting directly challenges your characters. A raging storm forces a character to fight for their life, raising survival stakes. A complex labyrinth tests their mind, creating intellectual stakes. And a crowded ballroom turns whispers and glances into intense social stakes. This brings us to our fourth key concept: maintaining pacing through environmental integration. To understand this, picture a pyramid. At the base, we have the physical world. This is the raw geography and the boundaries that define your scene. As characters interact with this world, we introduce environmental pressure. In the middle, consider how the setting is acting on the character. It is the friction created as a character moves toward a goal, no matter how slight. At the top, imagine the setting becoming more restrictive, more dangerous, and actively opposing the character. This pressure funnels to the peak, elevating the narrative stakes. When the environment itself is a threat, the reader arrives at the peak. There, every character decision carries profound weight. But there is a common temptation we must avoid. Writers often pause the story to deliver an information dump, a long, isolated block of pure description. This creates a severe interruption for the reader. When the narrative halts to explain the architecture, the story's momentum comes to a complete standstill. The solution is seamless integration. You weave the environment directly into the action, ensuring the setting supports the flow. To maintain a fast pace, you must blend the setting into what is happening. Long paragraphs of static description will only halt your momentum. Instead, ground the scene by having characters physically engage with their environment. We call this environmental integration. There are three main techniques: interaction, obstacles, and incidental detail. Let characters pick up objects while they talk. Let them stumble over uneven terrain during a fight. This continuous, active engagement paints a vivid picture of the world without ever slowing the narrative flow. So let's bring everything together with 4 concept pillars. First, the distinction between factual telling and immersive showing. Second, how character-integrated settings build atmosphere. Third, the role of setting in elevating narrative stakes. And fourth, maintaining pacing through environmental integration. Here is the central idea to carry with you. Your story world is a living, breathing, and active participant in your story. Introduce your readers to your world as you would any other character, not as the description of a photograph. Show your environments challenging and shaping your characters, just as the world does in real life. That is how you turn a setting into something readers will never forget.